Hello, and welcome to the Steve and Mark Discuss podcast, where Steve hunts around in the jungle of the media, finds some interesting specimens to collect, and then we dissect them and try and make sense of what he has. Anyway, over to Steve.
Hi, people. So today, this podcast is going to be based on something that is really prominent happening in the world, and it's more of a cautionary tale. Um, I've been on this earth for quite a few years now, and so my experiences have taught me a lot. And I've travelled a bit, and I've seen this and that. And this podcast discussion is going to be about the opportunity that an awful lot of people find themselves in now, but may not be aware of what's in front of them. And of course, I speak about illegal immigration in the US. Over the last 2 years, more than 6 million people have crossed the border in Mexico and Texas and Arizona and sometimes in California, and they get captured, if you like, by the immigration people, and then they get released. And there are an awful lot of charities that take care of them for the short term. The majority of people that are going to the US on overland are from Central and South America. And these people, disillusioned of what they have in their own countries, they're going there thinking that they're going to find all this wealth and health, but it won't always work like that. And I'll tell you a little story. Around 20 years ago, I was a music producer, and one of my productions for the artist won a national music prize called Itaú Cultural at that time here in Brazil. A little bit like a Grammy, if you like, equivalent to a Grammy. And this group uh, of Indians, of the Funio Indians, they were invited to go to Sao Paulo, and I accompanied them to present themselves and also to receive the prize. Right, it's okay, which we did do. Whilst we were there, we went to visit three cousins of the lead singer of this traditional Indian music group. And they lived in the outskirts of Sao Paulo. They'd left the tribe, left the Indian Funio Indian village, went to Sao Paulo to try and make it there. So when we arrived there were three ladies, relatively young, about 20 years old, 22 years old, somewhere around about there. And between the three, they rented out a room in Sao Paulo where they lived. There was one bed and one mattress on the floor. And they'd been there for about 6 months, I suppose, 6 months, 7 months. And they were trying to make ends meet. Each one of them had a job. What they didn't anticipate is the price of everything in Sao Paulo, and so found themselves in a bit of a quandary. Brazil is a huge country, and from Pernambuco, which is where the Funio Indians come from, to São Paulo is quite a distance, and also the climate is different. It's a lot colder in São Paulo. So what you had, is these three girls. And they took it in turns on who slept on the mattress on the floor at night time, trying to make ends meet in São Paulo. And I asked them, what have you gained coming to São Paulo? You know, I said, it strikes me that all your wages are being spent on renting this room, which was really expensive, in the outskirts of São Paulo. They had to spend the time going into São Paulo to go to the place of work. And the price of everything in São Paulo is also extremely high. And the jobs that they had were menial jobs. So, you know, they had very little leeway as to what they could spend their money on. And I said, what difference is it here than it is where you're from in Pernambuco? You know, at least they all had a bed to sleep on, and at least, you know, they could afford to eat. And that is what is going to happen to. Eventually, they all moved back to Pernambuco. They all moved back to the Aldeia, to the village. Sorry, breaking Portuguese there. And life goes on, you know. But that is going to be the future of an awful lot of people who go from places like Venezuela, from Colombia, from these Central and Southern American countries, all racing to get to the US, thinking that the US is all milk and honey. Now you can see on the internet, you don't have to look very far, to have drive-throughs of downtown Los Angeles, downtown San Francisco, downtown New York, and you can see the streets lined with homeless people. It's homeless people, drug addicts, mentally unstable people. All the commerce has been shut down, you know, because the thing is, the US on a grand scale is getting worse. Is getting worse. And these people, they beg, steal, or borrow money to make this journey. And when they get to the US, they need to understand that they will be treated as the least of the least of the least, because they're illegal. So they won't even get a minimum wage in the US to do a really tough job. You know, it's a race to the bottom. And before they start to make this journey, I wish they would do a little bit of research. I understand that life in Venezuela is hard, as it is sometimes here, some places here in Brazil. Life's hard. Depends on where you are, and you know. And when these people when these charities have run out of money and won't support them anymore because they need to go to somewhere else to beg for money from charity on another project, these people may find themselves homeless because they won't. Because if you think that the rent in São Paulo in relation to Pernambuco is different, the accommodation factor in the US is ridiculous. You know, it really, really is bad. You need, when you're talking about renting a room for like $2,000, $3,000 a month, that for a lot of people is more than what the Americans will earn. You know, there are people that have to hold down two or three jobs. I don't know if you've seen those programs, Undercover Boss.
Yes, yeah. I have.
and they talk to they talk. Of course, it's always the hard done to
Well, of
employees
course, yeah, makes us.
that shows that they are faithful to the company.
Yeah,
But you get these people, and they're having to hold down two jobs. They've got three kids,
yeah,
and they just get. And so the boss comes in as a savior.
yeah.
You know what people do to get on television. But anyway, there you go.
Well, yeah.
So the end of my thing is people should really look at what they're going to get themselves into before they actually do it.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, this is it. I mean, um, I'm going to open up by saying we know what it's like to move to another country. Be it we did it voluntarily, for various different reasons. Well, okay, we did it because we happened to, I believe, marry local people, and yeah. Um, but yeah, we know what it's like to live as a foreign person in a country. We are not entitled to benefits, anything above basic benefits in Brazil. We can't claim money from the government or anything. Yeah, we're entitled to healthcare, as we got indefinite leave to remain. Yeah, so they'll keep us alive here. Um, we all know stories where foreign people here have fallen on hard times, and it's tough. I mean, yeah, we know. We have to work hard as foreign people here. We have to be self-sufficient, have our own means. I have to work hard. You have to work well. Say work hard. I believe you're retired now, to a point.
Yeah,
But yeah, so you've got your own sufficient ways of surviving. Um, and yeah, that's what these people don't think. I mean, a lot of Brazilians say to us, or say to me, why are you here? Because a lot obviously want to go to the land of milk and honey, that is the UK, which is probably where we're going to next. But it's it yeah, we chose it. Yeah, I've got the sun here. I've got nice heat. It's paradise. I know I'm always been ridiculed for saying on these podcasts by certain people, the paradise that is Brazil. Potentially it is. Potentially Brazil has a lot of everything. We've got a few problems, and our problems start at the top and just get worse as you go down the food chain, as it were. That's not to say that Brazil is particularly bad, but it's not particularly good either. We all know that overall we would be better being able to spread wealth around the world in the form of trade, education, and other things, which is getting me on to the next point. You talk about these people. Um, the ability to read and understand things is one thing. Lots of Brazilians have this ability. I do actually know Brazilians who actually want to learn English, not now to actually move to another country, but to actually be able to remain in Brazil and earn a good salary speaking English, either with ideas from within Brazil or companies within Brazil, or external operating from Brazil, um, which is an interesting dynamic that's coming in more and more. So again, it's not quite globalization, but it's the ability to actually, yeah, um, be able to work for whomever you want and remain in your country of origin. Um, that could go to Africa. That could go to more South America. Venezuela is evidence that there's a certain ideology that just does not work, just not work. And what's the normal expression that gets used? What do normally people tell you? Well, it doesn't work because America and other rich countries don't support these communist countries. Let's put it bluntly. Or yeah,
yeah. Well, to a certain extent, that is possibly true because Venezuela,
yeah,
in particular, is subject to a lot of sanctions
yeah.
by the US.
Well, again,
You
it's
know,
Cuba. Yeah, but you get told Cuba doesn't work because the capitalist USA don't support them. So
yeah, yeah,
these
yeah.
these lesser countries, these countries need capitalism to pay for them to survive. the whole world isn't suddenly going to turn extreme communist. At least I don't think it is. I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder. Um, yeah, sponsored by the WEF. Well, I'm getting a bit over the top here, possibly, but yeah. But that's as I see it, and this is what this podcast is. Again, if anyone disagrees with us, please write in the comments below, and we'll duly respond. Please be polite. This is an opinion forum. It is not. Yeah. It is a, and again, yeah, the people there will dream of things, dream of a new world. As you said, Germany's going into recession. Europe's hitting the skids. It is a, it might not when they get there. Yeah, you're quite right. I sometimes wonder when I see, and I've been in London, I've lived in London and other cities in the UK, and even my hometown, where you've only got to walk down the road in the UK and you see people sleeping on the streets. Shock horror when I tell Brazilians this. Yes, you go in there and you are spending all your salary on renting. To be quite honest, that's what I more or less do here at the moment. And I'm probably better off than a lot of people in the UK because I can afford my rent. Just sometimes, but I'm affording to have my rent and eat if I don't have an extravagant lifestyle. Yeah, we spoke about this before privately. And again, yes, is it a better life when you get there? I can't see how it is for a lot of people. Sometimes people are arriving there, they're having a bad life themselves, but sending money back to their country of origin, feeding sometimes, and we know what happens in Brazil, feeding somebody who wants to stay in bed all day in Brazil to survive. That's the reality. For some people, they're doing it. They're making the big sacrifice for the family. Again, I mean, this has to come from the top. I mean, the African countries recently had a big meeting where they're moaning about the way that the Europeans have treated them, but overall need investment going in. Yeah, be careful biting the hand that feeds you. It's much better if we invest and help these countries develop globally rather than have the influx of people dreaming of something else. I know this is an ideal thing I'm talking about, but that's not to say immigration is a bad thing.
It's exactly, you hit the nail right on the head. It's an idealist thing that everybody has in their minds,
Yeah.
which is what triggers them to make these journeys.
Yeah, and I can understand, but we all know that we're working 14 hours a day sometimes in the UK to survive. If you've got a reasonably good job, middle class job. I laugh sometimes when I hear people, I only have to work 6 hours in Canada a day to survive. Well, I'm sure there's lots of Canadians that like to know where these jobs are because they'd like to have them.